Hello everyone, Miss Gretchen with Rubies and Moonstones. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new to my channel, I hope that you would like it here and consider subscribing for more diamond painting content. And if you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support my channel. I literally would not be here without you. So thank you so very much. So today I am ready to start Dragon Brigade by Randall Spangler and Diamond Art Club, and I am so excited about finally getting started on this. So this video is going to show you how I am completing Dragon Brigade. So it's not going to be just an unboxing or a post review. It's going to be going over the canvas with you and then showing you several different segments in time where I stop and show you a video of how far I have gotten, maybe review any changes or problems that I have come across along the way, things like that until I get it done, and then I will include a post review at the end. This is a monstrous canvas, so it is going to take me quite a while to complete it, but I do not want to wait anymore and I really want to get started. It is 76 by 20 inches. Or 193 by 50.8 centimeters. So it is so incredibly huge. If I laid it on the floor and laid down next to it, it would be taller than me. So it is huge. And there are 158,100 drills on this entire canvas. There are also 61 colors, and there are 6 special drills, 5 ABs, and 1 fairy dust. And I'll show you what all of those colors are that are charted by Diamond Art Club. But there is one addition I'm hoping to make, but we'll just have to see what happens. And I'm not going to actually show you where all of the ABs and fairy dust go, as I will just kind of point those out as I go along, as I film those different segments. I can let you know where I have added in some ABs and fairy dust, and also during the post review process. So we won't worry about finding where all of those go now. But one thing I have thought about adding in is in these books, there are all of these gemstone type areas. So you can see there is supposed to be a gemstone here. There's a purple one there. Down here we have blue, green, and blue. And they run all across several of these books. So here is another green one. Some green and blues up there. And then also it looks like these areas are supposed to kind of have like gold bookbinding on them. So I have ordered some additional diamonds, and we'll just have to see what they look like when they get here, because I don't have them yet, but I don't want to wait any longer to get started. So I'm just going to start anyway. But I ordered some crystal diamonds to potentially put within these gemstone-like areas to just kind of help them look even more like actual gemstones on those books. And I also ordered a gold colored drill to maybe put in areas like this, and highlighting the areas around the gemstones to help make that look more like gold. So like I said, I am still waiting on those, so I'm just going to have to kind of wait and see and make that decision once they get here. But yeah, it's already June 18th, and school will start pretty much as soon as August gets here. And then the amount of time that I'm going to have to diamond paint is going to vastly decrease. I already don't have a lot of time to diamond paint, but I have a little bit more in the summer, and I really want to make as much progress on this while I have the time as possible. Because once school starts, once work starts, that extra stress gets added on, there's less time. This is such a large undertaking. I want to try and get as much done during the summer as possible. I was really hoping to get this started like before July, but I had so many other large projects I was working on, I was unable to do so. All right, so like I said, I'm not going to show you all of the drills in their baggies. I have already kitted up into Elizabeth Ward containers. It did take 2 to fill. This one is almost entirely full, but there are 158,000 drills, so that makes sense to me. And then in this one as well is completely full also. And I did, in this case, add the fairy dust to go underneath the ABs, so that way at least all of the special drills are in one place. So looking at those special drills, we have 5 ABs, starting with number 101, which is a blue AB. Then the green AB, number 108, we obviously have the most of this one. Number 128 is a pink. Then we have number 133, which is an orange AB, and then white, number 141, a decent amount of that, of course. The fairy dust, which is Z762, which is a gray fairy dust. I also did mark the bottoms of these if I happen to have any spare special drills in my spare drill stash. So that way, if I come across an area where I think that it might be nice to enhance a little bit, and I could go pull that fairy dust and see if I would like to add that in wherever that place is on the canvas. However, I know that I don't have this much fairy dust to replace on the entire canvas, so I would have to be very selective of where I would put those. But I did mark anything that I did have a matching drill for already in my stash, so I can just kind of make those decisions as I go. Okay, so I'm just going to try and not talk your ear off here at the beginning. I guess the only other thing I will just point out before I'm going to get started is that I do plan on working on this sideways, so I'm going to roll up this end and start working on it over here. And then I think I'm going to kind of work book by book, because then I can work all of this green and then just get all of the browns and all of the purples and do it that way. And then of course when I get to this end, I will have to change up my pattern a little bit, but I think that if I can kind of work each book at a time and then come back in and fill in this chunk, that maybe that will help things move along a little bit faster. Similar to like where this fire hydrant is, if I can do the entire fire hydrant and all of that background at the same time, maybe that will help save some time. But of course, I couldn't do an entire fire truck at once, so I will have to cut that into different chunks. This does have the perforated plastic covering on it as well, and I do like having that as an option. I don't necessarily have to use it, but I like how you're able to just fold it down so you can work in whatever sections you want, and I can always make my sections bigger or smaller, but it is nice to have that option. So I will likely be using that to help figure out what sizes I'm going to do as well. All right, so I think that is enough talking for now. I want to get started, see how many drills I can get laid before I have to go and get some other things done for the day. So I will check in with you guys in a little bit and let you know how it is going. All right, so I thought it would be time to do a quick check-in with you. I have been working on this for just over 6 days now, and about 30 hours, and this is as far as I have gotten, which I think is about a quarter of the way or so. But I'm really happy with the progress that I have made so far, and am hopeful that I can make a lot more progress while it is still summertime. We'll see how much more time I can actually devote to just diamond painting and getting this one completed. And then I have been working on it book by book. So I can do all of this green and then all of the brown and all of the purple and so on and so forth. And I feel like that has helped me make progress maybe a little bit faster. Similarly, I did this entire fire hydrant at once, as well as all of this dark blue in the background here as well. And then of course the fire truck I kind of had to break up, and let me see if I can get the whole thing in your image. But I had to break the fire truck up into a few different sections, but I at least have the first fire truck completely done. And then I do have all of the ladder lined out. So as I complete this book, and then I can fill in the red behind these gray lines in the ladder. So I am super excited about that. And I just love all of the details that are popping out now. These books on the bottom, as well as the hose. There is actually a hat on this dragon, which I am going to talk to you a little bit about. And the words on the books are starting to pop out a little bit more. Showing you where the ABs and things like that are at this point in time. We have green ABs up in the leaves up there, and also in this book, as well as going along this book. There's quite a few of the green inside the dragon as well. And there are green ABs on the top of this book down here at the bottom. I know you can barely see that, but there are. The fairy dust is the other one that is most used, which is this very light color here. It's technically like a very, very light gray fairy dust, but when I look at it on the canvas, it almost looks white, but it's not. It's a gray fairy dust. There's some of it in here, along this part of the ladder, and then in the hubcaps of the tires and the wheel wells here. These are white ABs there, and pink in these little squares. And then we have white ABs in this section, a little bit more of that fairy dust here. Some blue ABs and white, as well as the gray fairy dust in the eye of the dragon. And then we have some stuff going on in the marbles, but I'm going to talk to you more about that. So when I did a whip and chat recently, I left all of these brown areas uncompleted because I had been waiting for some enhancement drills, and I wanted to add in like a gold color to try and make these look a bit more gold. I feel like they're supposed to look gold, and so I thought I would try that, but it was going to be about 4 days or so before I got those enhancements in. So I decided to go ahead and fill in all of those areas, and I think it looks nice just the way it is. Those drills are supposed to get here today, so I thought I would try it out in this section of this book and maybe that one as well. See if I like it, and then if I don't, I'll take them off. If I do, I took pictures of each of these spots ahead of time, so then I will know which color I need to pop out to replace with the enhancement drill. I also am still waiting on enhancements to add into the gems. So I did do something to these over here, but I don't have anything for the purples or the greens yet. Let me show you what I did do to these blue ones. I will zoom you in a bit so that it's easier for you to see. So in here you can see that we have the white AB already charted, but then I added in some blue fairy dust for this color, and I added in some blue crystals that I happen to have. And I followed the same pattern for this gem up here as well. So we have the white AB, some blue ABs that were charted, and then I added in the fairy dust and these crystals. So, and then this is the white AB too. So I will likely continue using this method for all of the blue, but I will also see what I ordered and see if I like that any better, to try and make these look even more like gemstones. Another area I ran into issues with is the hat on this dragon. And the problem I found was this red area here. All of these colors blended in with the book behind it because they're all the exact same colors. And the only way you can tell that it was a hat is because of this outline there. And then of course the brown coming off. And so I just thought that it needed more. And now that I'm looking at it, I feel like this is also supposed to be part of his hat, but it's really hard to tell because it blends in. And I should have taken before and after pictures, but I forgot and did not. So what I did is I had some red fairy dust from my mini dazzle kits that were left over. So I was able to match those with the reds in here and replace them. And then I also had this nice cream color in a fairy dust, as well as this brown in a fairy dust that matched the colors that were originally placed there really well. And so I just picked all of these off and replaced them all with the fairy dust. I think I am going to look at the original image again to see if this is also supposed to be part of the hat, because I think that it is. But like I said, those colors are the exact same colors in the book, and it just makes it really, really hard to make it out as being part of the hat. And maybe if I add fairy dust in here as well, it will help make the hat stand out a little bit more. There's one other area that I made a lot of changes to, so let me try and zoom you in there. And that is this marble area. So I wasn't able to do as much to the blue marble because I don't have many blue or gray fairy dust right now. But I do have another mini dazzles kit coming in that does have a lot of blue, and I specifically bought it for that blue. So I'm hoping that some of those I could maybe replace in here when I get that, to see if I have some good matches. And I did take a picture of this before I laid down the drills as well, but you can also kind of see which color is which, and I can pick those out and put them down. But right now we have the regularly charted white AB here. This is the gray fairy dust. And then I did have a gray AB that I laid in these sections as well. It is very subtle, but it is there. And those ABs are actually from Diamond Drills USA. And then in this marble, I just thought the marbles needed to be more shiny. What was charted is the white AB, the green, and then this orange were all charted in there, and that was it. So I decided to switch out the red, similar to the hat, with the fairy dust in all of these areas. And then I also looked at all of the greens that were in it and tried to match those up with some greens that I had, and replaced any that were pretty good matches with green fairy dust. So that's why I have green fairy dust in all of these areas. And then this light color of green, I did not have a good match for, so I just had to leave that there. But it's probably good that the whole thing isn't fairy dust anyway, and I am happy with how this turned out. I'm just really hoping that I can get some more fairy dust into this blue one. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens when I get those kits in, as well as all of those other enhancements. So yeah, so this is how far I am at this point in time. So I am just going to keep working in sections, book by book, and then I will do the candle and its background, and then book by book again, and just completing the different sections of each fire truck as I go along and am able to move up and down the canvas. So that is where I am, and I will check in with you all in a little bit. All right, so I am about 65 hours in at this point, and I'm at the halfway point. So that is always very exciting. You can see the Do It Makes You Sparkle logo. It's covered up with my ruler right now, but this purple book is completed. So that's very exciting. So I guess I have another 65 hours or so to go. And then I'll try not to bump the camera. It's getting really hard to maneuver this thing. but you can see the fire truck down here at the bottom. I have this entire fire truck completed. I even did complete the rest of the ladder going out into this section while I was at it. But I have not done any of the cookies down here, so I will save that. But wanted to get this whole section done. So if you can tell, I do have my enhancements. I haven't filled in the gemstones on this green one yet, but I'll show you some that I did do. And I did add in some of the crystals in gold into this book already. But I was struggling with this one a little bit because I just wasn't really liking how some of the gold and crystal was combining in some of these spots, and so I went back and made some changes. This one I should have taken before and after pictures, but originally I had crystals going right around this really light area, and I just thought that looked silly, so I went through and I picked them all out, and then now I just have the crystals going around the border, and I think that that looks a lot better. So I'm really happy with that. So now I've been having to go back through and pick them out in other places as well, like over here and in these couple of books. So let me try and show you a little bit more of what I have done. Also, like here, I thought that it would look really nice to have the crystal doing this swirly area thing. So if we look over here, I did add in crystals and fairy dust into all of these sections, and I think that they look really good, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I still need to go back through and pick out and swap out some of the crystals. I think some of this brown here, for example, is likely that color that I want to switch out, but I do feel like the crystals and fairy dust that I put in these spots really makes those gems pop a lot more, and that's what I was really hoping to do. So I can zoom you in on some of them to try and show you. So there you can see the ones at the top. I do believe that that dark brown color that's right next to that light fairy dust is going to be one of the ones that I pull out and replace with that crystal, and I just think that it will look a lot better to have more crystals surrounding that area. It's just so sporadic right now how it is, but I really like how the combination of crystals and fairy dust in these areas have turned out. I also added fairy dust through this whole zigzaggy section, and then here are the crystals and everything down there. I think it's working pretty good. So I still need to come back and pick out all of these sections, but I also feel like this is a good way to show you what the books look like without the metallic drills and crystals, and what it looks like with the metallics and crystals. Even though this isn't how I'm going to leave it, I still need to make some changes on this one, on these two books, but yeah, this is how the books look without those crystals inside the goldy area, and this is what it looks like with some added. But I still think my best examples overall are down here on the most recent area that I completed. I'm really happy with how I adjusted this one, as well as this one there, and just with how it's turning out overall. I also did add in a lot of fairy dust into this marble as well, and I'm going to plan on trying to carry that out throughout the rest of the painting whenever I have a marble, to do as much of it in fairy dust as possible. And that's something I still need to go back to at the beginning, is I need to go adjust one of those first marbles that I talked to you about before. So you can see, of course, the white ABs, and then there's blue ABs here. I did put blue fairy dust and gray ABs in the bottom of the candle. Those were not charted, but then the white ABs here and the majority of this light color here are the charted fairy dust that came with the kit, but I added in these gray ABs and fairy dust at the bottom. The gray ABs are very subtle, but I still think it's a nice additional effect to have in there. And then we have some green ABs on the top of the book, some blue ABs underneath of it, some blue ABs underneath the marble here, and white going on top of the flashlight. And then of course white ABs going throughout this fire truck as well. And then there's green ABs here in this book. I added in some fairy dust in this squiggly area of that book, as well as in the center of the cross there. Yeah, okay, well, that's as far as I have gotten at this point, so still got quite a ways to go, but I'm also very happy with my progress. Not really looking forward to all of the time it's going to take to go back through and pick out all of those drills from the beginning, but I'm still glad that I went ahead and filled them in so that I could get as far as I did while I was waiting for all of my special enhancement drills to come in. And overall, I'm pretty happy with how the enhancement drills have turned out. It has just taken me a little bit longer to figure out exactly how I want them to look within the gold bindings on these books. But I think I have it figured out now. I am liking it. All right, I think we will end it there and check in with you guys in a little while. All right, so it's time to do one final check-in before we do the final post-review of everything. And so I believe where we left off is I had not completed any of this. I'm well over 100 hours in at this point. Today is sadly the first day that I have to go back to school in more of a full-time capacity. I was really hoping to get this done before school started, but I did not make it, although I am very close. And it's going so much faster than I ever thought that it would. So that's good. I am really happy with the changes that I made to the gold with that crystal and the metallic. So going back to the rest of it, yeah, this has been going a lot faster than I thought that it would. And also now that I have my enhancements in, I also have more special drills from all of those Diamond Art Club mini Dazzles kits. I have been putting in more fairy dust and things like that in different places whenever I see the opportunity to do so. So for example, in this book here, where there is this kind of crisscross going around here, as well as in the wording, that is a fairy dust. That is a Diamond Art Club fairy dust that I had left over from another kit. And I just think that it's also down here in this part of it. I don't know. I love fairy dust, and so I thought it would look good to add it in there, so I did. And then I wanted these books to match, so I used the same fairy dust for the wording on this book as well as the squigglies down there. Otherwise, in this section, I did put the crystal through here, which I think looks really cool. And of course, I'm filling in the gems like I talked about doing. There is blue AB all through the middle of the Goblet of Fire. Of course, there's white AB in this part of the fire truck. And now I have the cookies down here at the bottom done. And then when we look at the center fire truck that's like coming at us, we have blue ABs going around the grill here and going across the bottom. And of course, there's a little bit of blue highlighting this dragon as well. I think this blue dragon is my favorite, in all honesty. I did put some of the green fairy dust in his eyes just because, again, I love fairy dust. And there is some of the gray fairy dust charted into the tops of his eyes, looks like anyway. And then there's some gray and pink fairy dust in the lights. And looking at the top up here, we have green ABs in the greenery, of course, and we have the smoke dragon over here. And then it says Dragon Station number 3, I think, up there. Sometimes it's really hard to make those out, but I am planning on hanging this up high, so hopefully you can tell at a distance. This is how much I have left to go, you guys. Not that much. Super excited about it. So in this book, see how okay. So in this one, I ended up using all crystal because that was charted as the same symbol. So I just used crystal for whatever that was supposed to be. Anyway, I wanted to do something similar on this book because I feel like, you know, both of these books kind of go together and these two books kind of go together. So this one did not have the same symbol throughout. It had 3 different symbols. So instead I put 3 different colors of fairy dust in there. 2 of them were exact matches that I happen to have, and one of them is just kind of close enough. I also added some fairy dust to highlight around the edges of this book binding, and there's fairy dust in this area here, and then it's surrounded by blue ABs that were charted, and of course the gold metallic and crystal is in there. And then when you look at the top, we've got the green gems in all 3 of those sections, and the crystal and the gold in those areas as well. And I did put just a few fairy dust dotted in this book, but there's not a lot going on there. So if you see me pressing, it's because I think that I see a drill kind of popping out, and that's just my placement issues, but overall it's going pretty well. So I've got a little bit done on this fire truck. I've got it going down to here. I completed that part. These 3 areas got completed because I was already doing those colors in these other areas, but I still need to come back in, obviously, and do all of that red and the bell. And of course, I've got this dragon done, and I did put some fairy dust that I had from DP with Sparklers in here for that blue. That was a match that I had. When I have the opportunity, when this is done, I need to unroll this entire thing, because right at this point I have most of it rolled up, hanging off the back of my drafting table. If I did not roll it up, it would be hitting the floor. So very, very excited. I think that had I had just a couple more days before I had to go to work, that I could have gotten this done, but alas, I did not. So anyway, I am super excited, and it's going to be really fun to unroll it and show you everything all together. I was trying to say this before, and I think I got distracted because I know this video is getting very long. But when I have the opportunity to unroll this entire thing, I'm going to have to go back and look at some of the books that I did before I got all of my enhancements in, and make sure that it doesn't look awkward that this half has so much extra fairy dust and stuff in it and the other half does not. If I do notice a significant difference, then I'll go pick some out and add some fairy dust in where I can. But if it looks okay, then I'll probably just leave it, because, you know, taking the time to pick out drills and put them back in is very, very long. I spent practically an entire day going back through and picking out the drills from those first couple of books that I had to lay regular drills into while I was waiting for the enhancements. I do think it took me an entire day to get them all picked out and put back in, if not more than a day's worth of work. Okay, so that is where I am at, and I cannot wait to show you the entire thing, get these books done, and we'll get it unrolled and look at the entire thing all together, and I'll do my best to take a whole picture to show you the entire thing in one shot as well. So, all right, next time I will see you, it will be done. And it is done. I cannot believe that I finally have this completed, and I am so incredibly excited.
It's such a mix of feelings at the end because it's such an exciting feeling to have such a huge canvas completed, but then at the same time, I'm sad that it's over. And I had so much fun with this one. It went so much faster than I thought it was going to. And I think part of the reason why I had so much fun doing this one was because of all of these extra enhancements that I did. It just made it extra fun for me to do, to try and decide where I was going to place all of those things. So I know that we already kind of talked about everything that has been completed, and I will show you everything as it all goes together here in the post review. But since I've focused on what I did over here, let's just focus on what's been completed in this part now. Sorry, there's such a shine there. I'm going to try and show it to you. But down here in this marble, I did still try and put in all fairy dust for all of these colors. And that way all of the marbles are the same and have all that fairy dust. I also made it so that this entire fire hydrant is done in fairy dust as well. And then looking at these books at the top, there's the green AB that's charted over here, and green AB is charted in this book as well. And there's green AB in the background of this book. What's also already charted in here is a few blue ABs in the blue gems and some white or pink ABs. They look so similar in that red gem. And then in the fire truck, we have white ABs and we have the gray fairy dust and more white ABs and white ABs and gray fairy dust here, gray fairy dust, white or pink. This is definitely the pink AB, and that's the pink AB going in the fire engine as well. So that's what was charted in, as well as, of course, green ABs within the dragon. And then I added blue fairy dust into his eye. And then I followed the same pattern as I did with the other gems when I did the red gemstones as well as the blue gemstones and the green gemstones. So I just followed the same pattern that I had created on the other ones so that they all would look kind of the same. Now, within this book, these lines going up, I switched those out for a green fairy dust as well. I started getting really heavy-handed with the enhancements towards the end as I got more comfortable, and I definitely worried that at the beginning there weren't going to be enough enhancements and it was going to look awkward, so we'll talk about that more in a minute. In these swirls, I added fairy dust in there as well. And here there is a whole bunch of different colors of fairy dust because there were like 3 color changes. So I had to find 3 different colors of green to make this work. And then there's also green ABs within there. And the little dots are the gray fairy dust. And then of course I have the same pattern of the metallic topaz and the crystal going within the book bindings here. I did add in a orangish fairy dust here for one that I happen to have. I think it looks okay. That's one that I'm not so sure about. But yeah, I think it'll be okay. Okay, let me try and get this centered and zoom you out so you can at least try and see the whole thing. Okay, I think that this is probably the best it's going to get for trying to be able to show you the whole thing, at least top to bottom. Obviously, you won't be able to see the whole thing going across as I unroll it. And then I'll kind of give you some statistics as we unroll it and look at the pieces that have already been completed. But oh my gosh, this little dragon is my absolute favorite. Okay, so I started this on July 18th and I finished it on August 10th. My goal was to finish it before school started. Technically, the kids aren't at school yet, so maybe that counts, although teachers have had to report. So therefore, I spent 24 days working on Dragon Brigade by Randall Spangler, which is 193 centimeters by 50.8 centimeters, or 77.2 by 20.3 inches. And it is made up of square drills, and there are 158,100 drills on this entire canvas. This is so hard to try and show you guys. Oh my goodness. I figured since I can't show you the entire thing, I might as well just show it to you on my drafting table, and then you can at least see the entire top and bottom part. Anyway, okay, there are 61 total colors with 5 charted ABs and 1 charted fairy dust, but then of course I did all of those extra enhancements. And I spent 121.5 hours completing this. So really, I mean, that's a long time, don't get me wrong, but it didn't take quite as long as I thought it was going to. So I am pleased with how quickly I was able to get it finished. I think part of what helped with that is just how much of the same colors there are. This was a whole bunch of kind of color blocking the background, and then being able to just color each book by book, you know, like I talked about. I think that that really did help make things go by a lot faster. And of course, you all remember me having talked about this as we went along, but I added all of those areas of enhancements. Actually, okay, moving back a little bit here, I did add in, I spent a couple hours after I was done coming back in and picking out some areas and adding in like more fairy dust, because again, I didn't want there to be a lot of enhancements and fairy dust on the right side and then like not as much on the left side, although I did do some. I didn't do as much because I got more fairy dust in later on in the project. So when I was finished, I came in and I added fairy dust into this part of this book binding. It's just this red color that kind of zigzags here. And then I did the same thing in this part of the green book. I put the green fairy dust in there, and the swirly parts in this book I put in the blue fairy dust. Kind of if I had something that was going to match, I put it in. And I actually did it with the Goblet of Fire as well. I picked out all of the diamonds for the words, the Goblet of Fire, and this design thing here, and I replaced this with the fairy dust as well. Even though I already had placed the swirlies with that crystal, I just thought that, again, I wanted things to match a little bit more, so I added fairy dust up here, and this is probably my favorite book. I don't know. There's so many books that are cool. I love these books too. Okay. And so then I continued over here. This one I had already done. I didn't really have colors for the browns. You know, I probably could have made it work, but I also didn't want to put fairy dust in every single one. And then over here, this area is one that I had to spend a lot of time going through and picking out diamonds and replacing them. So as you know, I had to pick out and replace the gold, the topaz, and the crystals for the book bindings. But then when I came back through as well, I also picked out the diamonds that were in here for this twirly part of this design, and I actually laid down a blue crystal that I had gotten and used for these gem areas. And I didn't have enough fairy dust to do this whole area, and again, there was so much going on here, I didn't want to do too much here as well, but I did replace the fire chiefs with fairy dust. And then this design is replaced with purple crystals, and this one is just fairy dust. And the Legend of Fire, I picked that out and replaced it with fairy dust as well. And I did not do anything to this one because there's so much AB going on here. Now I'm kind of wondering if I should have, but I think I'm going to just leave it and call it good. So that's it. Dragon Brigade by Randall Spangler. What do you guys think? I could not be happier. I just absolutely love it. Okay, so I always talk about, I try and show you these before I take them apart. So I obviously have plenty of diamonds left. I did not run out of any colors. I did make a little jar for like the ones that I had to pick out, but this is going to have to be cleaned because it's going to be very, very sticky and icky because of all of those drills that already had glue on them. But I like to kind of just keep all of those together so that they're easier to discard. I did have troubles with plenty of colors, although most of them weren't that bad. It didn't really mark all of them that were hard. But what I did do is if I had a fairy dust that went with it, I marked the bottom of the jar. So if I found an area where I wanted to enhance, I could look at the bottom to see if I had a fairy dust or a crystal or something to go with it. Where's one that has a crystal on it? So this says crystal 321 or fairy dust. And so the crystal, because there's a star on it, that means that if this was in a gemstone, this is where I used that crystal on that symbol. So that was kind of how it helped me remember what I was doing. And then looking at our other container, again, we have plenty of these colors left as well. For trash, I had these two containers. So a good amount. This one is not quite full all the way, as you can see. This is the first one. But with a canvas that has 158,100 drills, this is not bad. Not bad at all. I am pretty happy that I didn't have more than that. And it seems pretty typical for the amount of picking and choosing that I do. This is a very, very light color, right? Usually light colors are good colors. It's number 842. It was surprisingly bad, like really bad, to the point where I could not make a perfectly straight line. No matter how much picking that I did, I just had to do the best that I could. That was the only one that was really awful. Even 3371, 938, 823, although of course these weren't great, neither was 310. They weren't as awful as that one was. So got those leftover drills, so we got plenty to put into our saved drill bin. And yeah, I think that is it. So now my next step is I need to try and decide how I want to do the edges and how am I going to hang this, because it's so, so huge. Any ideas I would appreciate. I looked into one of those like magnetic hanging things that I would clip against the top and bottom like I did on Wink and Blink and a Nod. But to get one that's 76 inches long is pretty expensive. And even if I even thought like, what if I divided it up by 3 or something, it's still going to cost basically the same as if I get the 76 inches long one. So I don't know. I can't decide if I painted the edges, what color would look best. Do I just do black? Do I remove the ink and make it white? I don't know. because it's so large, there's not a whole lot of areas that would have to have ink removed, so that could be an option. I thought I could paint it red or blue, but I just don't know if that might clash a bit. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So yeah, I'm not sure how I want to finish this, but I do really want to get it finished and get it hanging in my son's room, because that is the purpose of it. I think that it should fit. If it doesn't fit, then I will hang it in the basement, but it should fit. This is taller than me. I lay down next to it. I'm 5'5", so of course it's taller than me, but you know, there's plenty of wall space for it. It's heavy, and I want to make sure that it is going to stay on the wall and not fall down, and I'm not sure which wall to put it on, but gosh, I love it. I just wanted to add that one of the things that I did not include in this video was showing you what the actual enhancement changes that I made were. So I didn't show you what crystal I got and what DMC regular color of diamond it replaces. And I just did that because this video got so long, because it was such a large piece that I needed to cut something out. So I am planning to make a separate video that shows that. So for anybody who is planning on completing Dragon Brigade and maybe interested in doing some or all of these enhancements, you can look at that video to see what the actual enhancement changes that I made are, in case you want to use them. And so just know that it's coming, and it will be in my tips and tutorials section, and I'll try and get to it as soon as possible so that it can be very close with this video. So just wanted you guys to know that it is coming. All right. I think I have droned on long enough. I know this is a very long video, but I like to show you the steps of completing it as I go along. And that way you can kind of see what my thought process is and kind of complete the painting along with me. So I hope that you enjoyed, again, this format. I think that this is likely how I will do most of my post reviews moving forward. And yeah, so I hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, could you please give it a like, as it really does help my channel as well as my videos to get more views. If you would like to see more of my diamond painting content as I create it, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and also click the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I happen to make future uploads, because my uploads are going to be very random, especially now that the school year has started. And then, of course, if you ever have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, or you can always shoot me an email as well. So thank you so much for following along with me as I completed Dragon Brigade. I hope that you loved it as much as I did. I absolutely love it, and I cannot decide exactly which one I want to do next, so we'll see. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all have a fabulous, wonderful, marvelous day. Bye-bye.